Hello, my name is Jeremiah Swisher. Now, in continuation, when it comes to the idea of starting to talk, believe it or not, before I was diagnosed at 2 years and 10 months old of autism, because I used to be nonverbal, my grandfather always said there's something wrong with the child, and he was the first one to notice it. Anyways, moving on, when I started becoming more verbal, I unfortunately had to leave the program that taught me a bit of sign language because it was only a birth to 3 program. And then I went to a public school, and I had a really amazing teacher where I learned how to use the potty and learned how to trace. And the unique part of me is, although I didn't know how to use the letters yet, for my name for Jeremiah, I would use 8 circles, which has 8 letters in my name. But overall, after that, I had to leave that school because they only had special ed program up to K-5, which is very unfortunate. But then I went to a school that was kind of hell, and where I was put in a classroom with all autistics. Some parents say that it's a great idea. However, I strongly disagree with that because if you're placed with autistic kids, eventually you start acting like them, and what made things worse was the fact or the idea of being put in a corner all by yourself. The special ed room wise, what they do is that they put you in a basement where you're excluded from normal people, which is unfortunate. And a lot of those kids, they would run out of the classroom. So I started laughing at it, and I did puzzles in the classroom too, and I started acting like them, and my mom didn't want that to happen. So halfway through first grade, really starting to reach the halfway mark, my mom got me an aide, and at least that helped because I wasn't placed in the regular ed classroom. However, I wasn't bound for the regular ed material, which was a problem. So then I was placed in another public school, and at least I was starting to go to regular ed classes, but I still had a lot of those special ed classes. Overall, I wish that my teacher that I had at that school that I moved to, I wish she would accept that I had the disability of autism rather than saying that I was a normal child with no disability and I was just a slow learner. But my parents did get me retested, and I still had autism, so that proved that against her theory of me not having autism. So then the school just didn't work out as well. My mom wanted me to have the best education, so what ended up happening, sorry for my rocking, is that I went to a private school. And what was really challenging about the private school was that I was placed in regular ed at least half the day. Yeah, and it was challenging because a lot of them didn't understand my disability related needs, that how a lot of times I can't do what all the other regular ed kids are doing. So who got stuck with the modifications? Unfortunately, my parents. However, it taught me in what regular ed kids do. And despite homework took me a long time, when I got home at like 4 o'clock, I took a break at 5, then went all the way till 9, and then went to bed at 10. And of course, took a break between 9 and 10 by watching Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? I loved Scooby-Doo and New Scooby-Doo. I loved when they unmasked those villains and you didn't know who it was, and you think it's this person or that person. Always like suspense. You never know who it is. However, sometimes I don't like suspense because then I worry, what's going to happen tomorrow? Am I going to do good on that test? Or what's going to happen on this day? In the meantime, it's all about having confidence. If you're too nervous, you're not going to do as good on the exams. And you study a little bit at a time like I'm doing now, which right now I'm taking a little break from studying. And all you can do is try your best. And always have a game plan. Because in the end, there will always be the light at the end of the tunnel, and everything will work out perfectly. Or almost perfect, because nothing is ever 100% perfect. But typically, then what ended up happening was after that school, everything became too hard for me, so I went back to public school. It was different from the public schools I've been to previously, but it was a different public school altogether. But what I didn't like about that school in 4th grade, or my biggest problem, was the fact that there was a lot of bullying, unfortunately. And my teacher liked playing strike 1, strike 2, strike 3 game when the class was disrupted, and made fun of the poor new teacher because he didn't always know what he was doing. And the fact that I always was respectful, however, people like me had to be punished for it because it was as an entire classroom. So, no, that sucks. And then after 4th grade, my mom was tired and fed up with the public school system, so I tried charter school, which was pretty good for 5th grade. However, with 5th grade, what was interesting is that a lot of the rooms were together, so like 3rd and 4th and 5th grade were taught together. So overall, it was kind of nice that we all learned together, and that was when I started kind of doing regular ed classes, despite there wasn't as much special ed help. But in middle school, like 6th grade, that was the most one of the many painful years that I've had. Like one of the harder years, because a lot of it was projects, and my mom always said it needs to be cut down for me. Like, do this on this day, then do this on this day, then do that on that day, instead of giving the person an entire project to do. And unfortunately, there wasn't as much special ed help down there. However, I did receive a little bit of modification, but the projects just got a headache, because unfortunately my parents ended up doing a lot of it because I didn't know how to do it myself, and if I did it myself, the project would be very nasty. It probably would have been worth a D instead of a B. But we used a number system, like 3 meant B, 4 meant A, 2 meant C, 1 meant D, so always try to get a 2 or a 3. I always hoped for the 3 or the 4, especially the 3, because B is I tried my best. So then after the charter school, I went back to the private school that I once went to, but at least the teacher that I've had for like 2nd grade, I understood. And by the way, I don't think I forgot to mention that I got held back in 2nd grade, because so I had one more year to relax myself, and so things wouldn't be as hard and hell or hectic for me. But moving on, the teacher that I had for 2nd grade in my private school, she got to be the special ed teacher, because she dealt pretty well with me, according to the special ed company, I guess. So I had her for 7th and 8th grade, because she asked my parents to come back, and at least she understood what it's like for people to have disabilities, I thought, better. So I was in the resource room for half the day, while I was in regular ed for half the day, and at least I received modifications. However, after middle school, I really wanted to go back to middle school, because it was so fun, so much fantasy. But in high school, they realized through testing me there that I could do a lot of the regular ed stuff. So high school was really challenging my freshman and sophomore year, when I was basically thrown in all regular ed classes except for study hall and health and gym. But health and gym I fought for to put me in special ed, because a lot of times in gym people treat the game as if I need to win. It's World War III, and I just wanted to have fun, so that's why I took adaptive gym. But other than that, I was placed in regular ed, and unfortunately I didn't receive very many modifications. And that's when I realized that I really got to try to survive high school as much as I can. But what really started making me advocate was in 8th grade, when I didn't want to wait on my parents doing my civics homework forever. So what I typically did was that I started doing it myself, and first it took 3 hours, then it took 2 hours, then 1 hour, and eventually I was able to do my homework myself. And in high school it was a challenge, because imagine being from half of special ed classes now to all, or almost all, regular ed classes. So unfortunately, I had to do a lot of the homework myself, and high school was pretty challenging. However, in the long run, I was able to maintain decent grades, and basically, with all my hard structure in high school, college was able to be an option for me. And here I am now at college, trying to get the best grades that I can. And so far, I've been surviving. Sorry, I said surviving twice. And I hope that with my degrees, I'm thinking about general management, public policy, administration minor, so general management major. Sorry, I itched myself, my apologies. I'm only human. And then what I want to do is maybe with a communication minor as well, I want to help out people with disabilities on the autism spectrum, or any disability, and teach them through my life experiences that you can get things done. You can be someone in life. Even if school might not be your strongest area, there's so many other things that you can be good at, and you can be very successful in life. And I am here typically to say that. And one thing that I want to do is be involved in more disability organizations, helping people out, perhaps. I also want to go on more speaking engagements to help out people with disabilities, and I want to become more known out there in the disability-related spectrum, so that I'm able to help out the maximum amount of people possible. And one thing I do plan on doing is writing a book. It has been a slow process, however, anything can be done if you put your mind to it. Have yourself a great day. This is Jeremiah Swisher calling.